Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to dive into my Widowmaker book series. Now for those of you who aren't familiar with the Widowmaker self-defense system, essentially it's a unique and revolutionary fighting style designed to unleash extreme force when faced with the immediate threat of unlawful deadly criminal attack. In other words, a deadly force self-defense situation. Now the first book in the series is the Widowmaker program, which pretty much sets up the entire foundation of my Widowmaker system. The second book is Feral Fighting. Now this is the advanced companion book that builds off the brutal fighting techniques of the original Widowmaker program. And the third and final installment of the series is Unleash Hell. And this takes the Widowmaker program to an entirely new level of brutal effectiveness. Essentially, it's really off the charts. So what I'm going to do with the next part of this video is give you a good look into each book of the series so you'll have a much better idea of what each one has to offer you. I'll also talk about who this book is designed for, who this series is designed for. Really important in making a purchasing decision. So without any further delay, let's start with the first book in the series, the Widowmaker program. Okay guys, we're going to talk about the Widowmaker program. So here's the front cover of the book, the spine, and the back of the book. Now you'll notice that with all of the books in the Widowmaker series, each Reaper has a different color, and that was intentionally done so a visual distinction can be made between each methodology within the series. So this one has kind of like a burnt, kind of a blood red brown, which I really like. The artwork was done by Ken Kelly, very famous fantasy artist who's up there with Frank Frazetta. Ken is known for doing a lot of album covers, including Kiss. Just an incredibly talented artist. I'm just in love with his work. But anyway, I was fortunate enough to purchase the secondary rights to his artwork. So let's take a look inside the book. The table of contents, we have the art of webbing. Chapter 2, Bridging the Gap. 3, The Science of Raising. 4, Widowmaker Drills and Exercises. And we have resources, glossary, and about the author, about yours truly. If you want to know a little bit more about me. Let's see here. So in chapter 1, we have the art of webbing. So this is basically a methodology into how to close safely, effectively, and efficiently, close the distance gap between you and your adversary. So I give lots of detailed explanations on how to apply it, what type of stance you would utilize to deliver the webbing technique, and of course the target. Now the webbing technique is in and of itself a very, very effective and devastating striking technique. So again, lots of explanations on hand positioning, also footwork. You got to use the proper footwork to apply the actual webbing. Lots of different types of examples and demonstrations. Now on chapter 2, we talk about bridging the gap and anchoring the opponent. And essentially anchoring means you're latching onto him. And this is once you get into the close quarter combat range, you would then deliver the raising methodology. So this just talks about how to close the distance gap with the webbing and then how to anchor onto him and set up your raising methodology. And again, lots of live demonstrations, pictures of students demonstrating the actual techniques, which I think is really helpful because you could see it in real time. Very, very important. So chapter 3 is all about raising, and I go into a lot of depth, let's just put it that way, on how raising should be applied, what you can expect from the adversary, what type of psychological response you get from the adversary, which is they basically shut down. Once you begin the raising methodology, their cognitive brain shuts down. This method of fighting is not, you can't find it anywhere. It's not in MMA matches. It's not in, you don't even see it in street fights. Those, those street fighting videos that they post all over the internet. You're not going to find it anywhere. So this is an important thing. And also with raising, I talk about the beat system. There's a whole beat system that gives a really good explanation into how this stuff works. And then I start just breaking down the different raising techniques one by one. Let's see. Again, just plenty of detailed photos of how it goes down. I also talk about the different raising targets and what are the medical residuals of attacking those targets. So you have a really good idea of what you can expect when you apply the raising techniques. I also talk about probable reaction dynamics. I came out with a video a couple weeks ago about precognition fighting secrets, and it all has to do with what you can pretty much expect how the opponent's going to initially react to your raising attack. What type of physical response can you expect and how to exploit that? So there's quite a bit there. Let's see. Also, I talk about the Widowmaker DVD and video. I will put a link in the description down below if you'd like to actually look into purchasing the video. It's really quite a sight to behold to watch it in real time. So that's available as well. And then I start giving raising demonstrations step by step. I mean, I went to a lot of effort to really give you a step-by-step breakdown of how this works. So lots of different raising demonstrations on the body opponent bag and also on my students, of course, controlled. So it just goes on and on. Lots of variations, lots of different types of sequences that can take place. And then I talk about the body opponent bag and how to raise the body opponent bag, because you're not going to, if you have a partner and you start raising him, first of all, he's going to get hurt. And second of all, you're not going to have a partner after long. So you're going to need to use the body opponent bag to develop and refine your raising skills. And I talk all about different types of raising combinations using your right hand and left hand. And also, these are not sequences that should be memorized. These are just sequences you should practice over and over and over again till you develop the muscle memory, and so it becomes instinctual. How the opponent reacts to your initial raising attack is going to dictate what the next technique is going to be. But the only way to do that is to have an instinctual mindset when applying the technique, and working the body opponent bag will do just that. So this is pretty much it. Again, there's a glossary of terms in the back, which I include in every one of my books. And that's pretty much the beginning of the series, the Widowmaker program. So this is available on Amazon. I will put a link in the description down below. So if you want to make a purchase or look into it further, you'll have information to do just that. Next we have Book 2, Feral Fighting. This is the advanced Widowmaker fighting techniques. This is the front, this is your spine, and this is the back. Again, each book has a color-coded reaper to distinguish its uniqueness in the actual series. So what we have here is we've got a table of contents. We have the Chapter 1, Adrenaline, Rage, and Fear. Chapter 2, the Shielding Wedge. Chapter 3, Anchoring the Adversary. Chapter 4, Advanced Raising Techniques. 5 is Feral Fighting, Drills and Exercises. And of course, Resources, Glossary, and About the Author. So in Chapter 1, when we talk about adrenaline, rage, and fear, we talk about when someone goes postal, goes ballistic. How are you going to defend against that? Because when someone loses it, and I mean really loses it, you're going to have a really hard time to block, parry, slip, or even if you're a boxer, bob and weave, because their attack is so ballistic and so explosive that you're going to have a technique that's going to have to bypass all of that type of assault. So we have something called a shielding wedge. Now this is different than webbing. This is a defensive technique that's used to close the distance gap. Now this is predicated on the phalanx warfare that the ancient Greeks used. And I go in great depth talking about what the foot soldiers used and how the phalanx of the Greek military applies to using the actual shielding wedge technique. So I talk about it in depth and how to close the distance gap when someone does go postal. Lots of examples. And I talk about the stance that you would utilize to deliver that technique. So it's quite a bit. Lots of live pictures of students performing it, myself performing it. Again, I always put a lot of effort into the photographs because that's how you learn. We come back to chapter 3, we talk about anchoring the adversary, and we talk about, again, the importance of it, but I've elaborated much more on the anchoring technique than I did in the first book. So there's a lot to discuss here on building on the anchoring technique within the Widowmaker system. We're going to skip these pages. We're going to get now to chapter 4. This is the fun stuff. This is the advanced raising techniques. Now this stuff here, what we do, again, I review the beat system and I review many of the different techniques that I covered in the first book. But what's really neat about this is I talk about what happens when crap hits the fan. And that's basically what happens when you have an opponent who fights you, who literally tries to negate and counter your raising assault. So we have different techniques that you could apply that would totally turn the tables on him and put you back in bargaining position. So again, there's lots of techniques from the Jersey pull all the way to scorching. So it just goes on with lots of demonstrations on how to do different techniques. Sharking's another just brutal technique in turning the tables on him and getting the odds in your favor again. Again, if you do the Widowmaker properly, let me tell you something right now, you're not going to have to worry about using these advanced techniques, but isn't it nice to know that they're there if you need them? Scorching, the mother lode of pain. Let me tell you, read this chapter and you're going to have a whole new appreciation for oleracin, capsicum, and pepper spray. And you're going to see how it's integrated into the actual hand-to-hand combat methodology. So I go in great depth explaining that. Let's see what else we got here. Again, we got lots of scorching combinations, both for right hand and left hand, again, to give you a good foundation. And then we go into chapter 5, which is feral fighting drills and exercises. Lots of different exercises and drills that are going to help get your raising techniques to a higher level of proficiency. So this chapter is devoted to all of that as well. So, and I just love these full contact demonstrations with gear on because it really gives you an idea of how it works. And lots of really unique drills and exercises too. Again, you have your glossary of terms and you have about the author as well. So this is Feral Fighting. This is the second book in the series. Okay, now for the third book in the series, Unleash Hell. This one's all about devastating Widowmaker combinations. It takes everything you've learned in book 1 and 2, and it just really goes ballistic. It really goes to another level of proficiency. This is the front of the book, spine, and the back of the book. I really like the Green Reaper. Again, the color of the Reaper distinguishes the methodology. So let's take a look inside. So what we have here is chapter 1, a raising refresher. Chapter 2, unleashing hell on the opponent. 3, traumatic schematics. 4, amplifying damage. And of course you have the resources, glossary, and about me. So in the beginning, now the raising refresher is basically, it reviews everything, but it goes in greater depth in terms of discussing the different, what happens, the cognitive brain shutting down. We talk about the type of damage that you can expect when applying the Widowmaker techniques. And let me emphasize, the Widowmaker is not designed for some schoolyard scuffle or even a barroom fight. This is something that should only be used when deadly force is legally and morally justified in the eyes of the law. I can't overemphasize that enough. If you really understand what this methodology is about, I think you would agree with me too. This is extreme self-defense. It's self-defense on steroids, folks. Okay, so let's go to chapter 2. So these are reviews of the topics we've covered in previous books, but also with a little bit of adding a little bit more information because I always want to make it worth your while to review something. So in chapter 2, Unleashing Hell on the Opponent, we talk about different types of live raising combinations, and these are different ones. These are, again, the whole idea is to give you as many different combinations as you can imagine that you can apply in a self-defense situation. And again, this is not on a body opponent bag. This is actually on a live student. Of course, it's done in a very controlled fashion, but it just goes on and on explaining the different sequences that you can apply based on how his probable reaction dynamics would be. And again, this is quite a bit of demonstration. And then we move on, of course, to the body opponent bag, which is the #1 training tool for raising. So in chapter 3, we have traumatic schematics. And then we talk, which I talk a lot about the different combination sequences that you can apply on the body opponent bag. Now, these are a lot different than the ones in the previous books. So again, it's going to be worth your while to really peruse through this and see the different combinations that are outlined in this particular book. So I'm going to go through this real quick, and then we're going to get to the next chapter, which is amplifying damage. I just love that piece of that clip art there. Just really cool. Anyway, that would make a really good tattoo, by the way, don't you think? Anyway, so we talk all about how to amplify damage, as if the Widowmaker isn't extreme enough, as if raising isn't damaging enough. Yes, you asked for it, you got it. We're going to even make it more damaging. So we talk a lot about, again, we talk about the scorching that was addressed in feral fighting, but then we talk about handheld weapon integration, and that's the Kubotan, the Iwara stick, tactical flashlights, tactical pen, collapsed tactical folding knife, and also brass knuckles, we call knuckle dusters. I actually wrote a movie called Knuckle Duster, but a screenplay, not a movie. A screenplay for a movie. But anyway, different types of handheld amplifiers and how they can be applied within the raising methodology. So very unique, very different. And again, this is deadly force situation, guys. This is not your intermediate use of force, scuffle on the street with somebody, parking lot dispute, only deadly force, guys. So again, it talks a lot about how to exploit the environment to benefit your self-defense response. And of course, in the back, we have different Widowmaker program resources, again, reference to the actual video. And then you have your table of, your glossary in the back. And then you have, some references to some of the other books as well. And then what else do we have? There I am. And then information about me and what I'm all about. So there you have it. This is Unleash Hell, the 3rd book in the series. And this is also available on Amazon. I will put a link in the description down below. So if you want to research or look into it more, you'll have that available to you. So there you have it, guys. The 3 books of the Widowmaker series. The Widowmaker Program, Feral Fighting, and Unleash Hell. I might add, they are really handsome looking books. You know, when I design them, I'm a book collector. I've discussed this in some of my live streams that I love collecting books, and I love, a really nice bookshelf filled with beautiful looking books. And they really are handsome looking books to display on your bookshelf. These are also available in hardback editions, and I really need to go get some, because that was later, several years later, I decided to actually make hard copies of these, and I think they would look even better on a bookshelf. So there are the 3 books. Now, if you don't want to put all 3 books on your shelf, you'd prefer one single volume, I've got that answer too. We have the Widowmaker Compendium, and basically this is all 3 books into one massive collection. So this is the front of it. That is your spine. This thing is a tome, and it's just big. And that is the back. Over 570 pages of vicious power. And this is a neutral gray Reaper, I guess, is to mark the amalgamation of all 3 colors. Not that would give you gray, but that's the idea, is that it's basically a concise compendium of all 3 books. Again, the Widowmaker Compendium. I will put a link to this book in the description down below if you want to look into it further. So you have the Widowmaker Compendium, and then you have the all 3 individual books. And that is my Widowmaker book series. I really appreciate you guys watching. I'd love to hear some of your feedback in the comments down below. Do you own these books? Are you considering owning any of these books? I'd like to hear from you guys. And thanks for your time, and I will talk to you at the next video.